Hello, my loves. Hello, my loves. And welcome to another episode of Monique and Sydney's Open Relationship. Now, I know y'all know we go through this every show because my daddy does the same expression every time I say, hello, hello, my loves. Look, every time. I like doing that because that is my contribution to Miss Sally from Romper Room. And then I found out there was more than one Miss Sally. Okay, so that just shut me down right there. I thought that was the only Miss Sally ever. So for all the Miss Sallys out there, hello. Hi, Daddy.
How you doing, Mama?
I am doing amazing, baby. How you doing?
Super fantastic.
Why are you so super fantastic?
Hey, we get another day, and we are here with fabulous Miss Queen Cookie and Mr. Dennis today.
Yes, y'all say hello.
Hello.
Hello out there.
I'm not fooling with you. Okay, look, they calling already, Daddy. Okay,
Yeah.
What is the show about today?
Do you have someone to talk to?
Do you have someone to talk to?
Yes.
And can I tell them how we came up with this show?
Sure.
So yesterday, Queen Cookie, I call her Mama. I call her a lot of different things, okay? So just know today, whatever name I call, I'm talking about Queen Cookie. So yesterday, she came over. We went to pole dancing class.
Yes.
Now, this woman is 68 years old. And when I tell you, we had to, take some of our things off in the classroom. And it's a private class, okay? It was me, Queen Cookie, Tommy, Dwight, and Joe, who was the instructor. So I have on, of course, my pole attire. You know, Daddy, because I ain't going to do it unless I can do it right?
Right.
So I got on the pole attire. Well, Mama didn't have on pole attire. So she said, well, my drawers look like what you got on. So can I dance in my drawers? I said, if you don't pull your pants up.
Yeah.
If you don't pull your damn pants up.
Pull 'em.
But what I loved about it was, at 68 years old, you still have all of that life.
Yes.
And still so vibrant and so excited about living. And she said, baby, this was on my bucket list, to come to a pole dance. And we had a great time. So then we went back to the house and we had some lunch.
Yes.
And she and I were sitting at the table and we started talking about relationships.
Yes.
May it be with our spouses, our children. And we both have sons. She has an older son,
Stan, 47.
47, and I have an older son, Shalon, 27. And we both had a conversation that was so open and honest because I knew that when Shalon was a little boy, he didn't get the best of me. And what did you say at that table?
And I said my son didn't get the best of me either because I worked. I was a single mom, and I really didn't have time to put my all into him. And it changed the relationship early on, and we still struggle to this day.
Do you think it would have been different had you had somebody to talk to?
Yes. Had I had his father in his life to talk to, it would have taken some of the burden off of me. But I was trying to do all this on my own, and it was a struggle. And, a lot of times I feel, and it tries to creep on me even to this day, that I failed as a mother, because I don't have that relationship that I think I should have with my son. But it's all right. It's all right. It is what it is. And I can't change nobody but the queen.
Come on.
I can't change nobody but the queen.
Now, I wish y'all could see her face right now because she got that black woman face like shit. Now,
James, can you hear Queen Cookie well? Because someone was saying that they couldn't hear that well.
Well, on the mic I can, but not on the...
Oh, in the room.
Gotcha.
In the room.
That's right.
When you say, do you have someone to talk to? And I know for me, when it came to Shalon, I didn't have anybody to talk to because I didn't even think to share it. Because I gave him what I saw. So at the time, I didn't think that there was anything wrong. I gave him what I was given. You have shelter, you have clothes, you have food. To read a bedtime story, listen, ain't nobody got time for no goddamn bedtime stories. I'm tired. I'm out here trying to get it. I'm grinding. And I was also a very young person. So I didn't even know how to communicate. I didn't even know how to say, and I know this is getting ready to sound fucked up to some people, but I didn't know how to say, I'm not interested. At the time, I was 20 years old, and I had a husband and a baby, and I wasn't interested. But I didn't know how to say that out loud. I didn't know how to communicate out loud because I thought that, am I a bad person?
Oh, I got you.
Am I a bad mother? Am I? Because I just didn't have anyone that I felt comfortable enough to say that to. So today's show is, do you have someone to talk to? And both of our husbands are sitting right next to us.
And just for the record, that's not how we ended up talking about this.
It's not, Daddy.
No.
Should I go off?
It was kind of reiterated and reconfirmed with your experience, and even with Mr. Dennis and I yesterday when he was talking in reference to relationships, and it's important to be able to have a discussion with your spouse. But how we originally got in the position to talk about it was Robin and I were discussing the ladies who were afraid to come out in reference to Harvey Weinstein and, all of these sexual harassment charges and things that you're hearing, and you wonder, do these people have anyone to talk to? And Robin started laughing because she says, Monique and I talk each other off the ledge every, so many mornings about different things that happen. And I was like, you know what? That we should have a discussion in reference to it. Do you have someone to talk to? And then you get the confirmation of that based upon your conversation with Queen Cookie and my conversation with Mr. Dennis. And here we are.
Here we are. Do you have someone to talk to? And I think oftentimes, because we've been taught, keep the house business in the house. So you're even too afraid to go outside and say, this is a conversation that I need to have. You keep your business in the house. And I think, for me, I didn't have someone to talk to for so long. I didn't know how to talk when it was time to talk. I didn't even know how to communicate it. And for years, with Sid and I didn't know how to say, I'm mad. I want you to see I'm mad as shit. But I ain't going to say I'm mad as shit. And I want you to figure out that I'm mad as shit. And when you say something to me, what's wrong? Nothing. Because that's what I knew. And the only way I knew how to talk was to be angry. Like I didn't know how to say, you know what, can we please sit down because I'm really dealing with something. I only knew how to be mad.
Mr. Dennis, if you'd be so kind to share your perspective on, the benefits of being able to talk to someone, especially even if it's your mate.
First of all, let me say this here. When you were speaking there, Miss Monique, what came to my mind was the experience that I had in my life for years. I was suffering in silence because I was afraid that other people would look down on me if I really told them what was going on in my life. I was, I'll just put it out there the way it was. Before I married my beautiful bride, Miss Queen Cookie, 37 years, 10 months, and 14 hours ago, I was married to another lady, and I had 2 children with her. And I didn't want to be in that relationship, and I didn't know how to get out of it. So therefore, I did some things outside the marriage vows, this, that, and the other, and I'm not going to bore y'all with all the details. But I felt like a dog for 13 and a half years. I wouldn't even discuss it because I was ashamed. And so when you were saying, suffering in silence. But what I have learned now is this young lady sitting to the left of me right now, I can honestly say that we are a team. Nobody comes before my spouse. And I can say to her a lot of things that I wouldn't have said to her 20, 30 years ago, okay, just being honest. And what I have in my life today is my beautiful bride, but I also have good friends outside my relationship because sometimes only men can talk to other men about things. Me and Mr. Sid were talking about a few things yesterday that only men could talk about, okay? But that's not to take anything away from the Queen here. We're on much better terms today, and if we had time, one day you guys ought to do this thing about this intimate circle between a husband and wife. I know we're not really on that today, but that is, I'll just try to wrap it up by saying this. Nobody humanly comes before my wife. Children, mama, daddy, grandkids, outlaws, in-laws, all of them. They can, well, this is y'all's show. I'm going to stop now.
Oh, baby, we're talking about it. Do you have somebody to talk to? Let's go to the lines and see what y'all saying. Hey, my baby, you're on with Monique and Sydney. Who's this and where you're calling from?
Hi, aunties and uncles.
Hey.
Your favorite, one of your favorite nieces, Israel.
You better kick it off today.
Get it.
Well, I was listening to the show as usual, and I was thinking about my mother and how I was brought up in a household where we didn't say I love you. That was taboo to say those words. I don't know why, but we just couldn't say it. Even if you, but I was different. I had a lot of Spanish friends who hugged and kissed and and just say I love you all the time, English and Spanish, But my mother and father couldn't do that. So when I would run to them and go, I love you, they would go, mm-hmm. And I couldn't understand why they couldn't never say it, but they would say it like this. If I didn't love you, I wouldn't do so-and-so. If I didn't love you, I wouldn't have this and that. If I didn't love you, you wouldn't have clothes on your back. But that wasn't saying I love you. That was saying if I didn't love you. So to me, you still didn't say it. So I grew up not hearing those words and keeping my emotions in for the most part. And Peaches, my wife has talked me off many ledges. And I understand how, excuse me, I'm getting over the flu, how aunties, you and Auntie Robin have been, talk every day. That is very important. Mm-hmm. My mother never talked about her business. We didn't know that my father was cheating on her and that I have a brother who's only a year younger than me. I'm the last out of 8 children. And his best friend's wife is who he left my mother for, divorced her without her knowing it, and married his best friend's wife. But they already had a child together. I was 14 when he divorced her. So I understand not speaking. And I never knew. I couldn't stand that woman. She was always just so into her own world, and I couldn't figure out what was going on with her. It wasn't until I was in my 40s that I found out that this man had cheated on her, had a child, and she knew the whole time. But she just kept it in. And when I got into my own relationship with Peaches, I was so used to being abused and beaten on that I kept waiting for her to hit me. And she wouldn't do it. That other proverbial shoe would not drop. So I kicked it. And I kept trying to force her to hit me. I would throw things. I would start an argument. I would go ahead and hit me. Get over with. And in my mind, loving me is hitting me. So I kept waiting for it and waiting for it. I was molested. I was sexually violated. I was sexually harassed. I had no one to talk to about it. I was molested when I was 8 years old. I had no one to speak to about it. My mother just said, well, we don't talk about those things. And my father told me that I was a slut. I didn't even know what the word slut meant, let alone what just happened to me. And it was happening for a whole year. And to this day, no one, there's been so many things in my life that have been on the we shoulda, coulda, woulda, but we didn't scale. Including the fact that I have yet to cry over my mother dying 6 years ago. And I took care of her with Peaches and one sister, one out of seven children living. My sister Nicki and my wife Peaches were the only two that were there to be taking care of mommy. And I still haven't cried over it. So I know I have to let that go. I have someone to talk to, which is Peaches.
What's the greatest thing you would say that has transpired for you since your awareness that you could actually talk to Peaches or have that person to really share your thoughts with?
That I can get it out, that I can breathe. I wasn't breathing before, Uncle. I wasn't living. I was existing, but I wasn't living. And I was barely surviving. I was angry all the time. If you angered me, I wouldn't just say, man, you get me sick. I would say, I hate you, kill yourself. I wish you would die. I mean, I was really, really to that degree where I was narcissistic. I didn't care if you lived or died. I just, and it took me. I had to come back from that. And it took her to snatch me back. I hated my father for decades. And Peaches said, your father's coming to your sister's house. We're going over there. I don't want to see that man. I haven't seen that man since I was 14 years old. No, 21. She said, you're going. And I went, and it was good to see him. He had Alzheimer's. He didn't know who I was. This is the man that made me take secretarial classes because he said girls can't be anything else. But when he left my mother, I went into, I did wood shop and metal shop and became an electrician just like he was.
You know what kind of show we have to do, Isra? And I think that this is becoming a feeling of that, thanking the people that we found that we could talk to. Because when you speak about Peaches, and I hear you speak now, you speak very openly. You speak with no guard. You speak with, I'm going to get it all out. And whether you know it or not, there are people that can hear your voice. And they hear your bravery. And they hear you saying some of the things that you never thought you would say aloud. That's why I say, baby, keep listening, keep calling. Because Monique is in the open relationship. We appreciate every time Isra calls in. Because you keep getting more and more open with your feelings, with what you're saying, with no apology.
We appreciate it.
Don't have me crying up in here.
We ain't gonna do it, baby. We love you, mama.
And that is something that's very important in reference to having that individual you can speak to, because sometimes when you have that individual that you trust their opinion, they trust yours, it allows you to be more confident when you're discussing things that you would normally keep private because you bounced it off someone. There was a level of reason behind your rationale. Now you're comfortable communicating your thoughts to others. And oftentimes what keeps us from being open with one another is our fear of the scrutiny that we're going to get. But when we become comfortable with the fact that it's all right that folks don't agree with me, I'm in agreement with myself, but I'm also in agreement with this partner that I can bounce this off. And if it works for, especially when it's your household, if it works for my wife, if it works for my husband, if it works for my mate, then we win it. You want to go to the line, baby?
Let's do it. Hey, you're on with Monique and Sydney. Who's this and where you calling from?
Peace. My name is Queen J. Shy. How are you?
Hey, Queen J. Side, we're wonderful, sister.
Hey.
Hi. You can't hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. Peace, and thank y'all so much for this topic. This is something that's really, and I'm sorry to answer your question. I'm calling from Texas. This is something that's very heavy in our community, not being able to speak about things that we need to speak about. And so I'm so grateful that you're actually bringing it up, because it's a lot going on for everybody that somebody needs somebody to talk to, and it's so hard to find somebody to talk to because everybody needs to be heard.
Mm.
You know what I mean? Like, it's for me personally, I can only speak on myself. It's something I'm dealing with right now. I've been dealing with depression ever since I was about 7 years old. I started getting molested by my cousin at 7 years old, and it happened for a couple of years, and a lot of abuse goes on and things like that in the black community that we can't talk about. Like, I remember telling my mom about it, she was like, ignored it. You know what I mean? And then brought it up again, and she was like, he said he didn't do it, don't bring it up no more. Brought it up again, and then I started catching switches and things like that. So it was like, okay, can't talk about that. And that transpired because of the divorce. And it was like, well, you know, don't tell what's going on in my house, you know what I mean, because of divorce and things like that. So it was like I had nobody to go to. And then you find when you do go through what I went through and you don't have anybody to talk to with family, you try to make family out of people, but they're really not family. So then when you try to talk to them and y'all fall out or whatever, then they throw stuff in your face or they spread your business, You know what I mean? I went to that, and then I got molested from 7 a few years, and then before I was 21, I got raped twice. I got raped on my 21st birthday. That was the second time, and I'm married now and separated because my husband and I, we can't talk. I got issues that I can't talk about with him. He has issues that he can't talk about with me. Like, it's hard because everybody is dealing with so much, and everybody wants to be heard that there are no ears available.
That makes sense. Here's the greatest part about it, though. You're available. So if you don't have someone on the outside of you to talk to, sometimes you got to talk to yourself. And there's a level of understanding that people don't have and appreciate for self-talks, because you may have to talk yourself off of that ledge, because you came into this universe alone. You're going to leave it alone. You could be in a car full of people as you go to your demise, which hopefully nothing like that would ever happen. However, you're still going to go to your space, and they're going to go to theirs. So during the course of your years, the best thing that you can do when you feel like you can't talk to someone else, you have to talk to yourself. And you have to tell yourself that you believe in you, because if you're not whole when you meet someone else, it's still a half, even though you two are together. And one of the most empowering things to have go your way is the willingness not to welcome the heartache, but appreciate it and embrace it. Because though you've been molested, though you've been raped, you still got time left. You still are here. And don't let these moments destroy your life. We were talking to our children recently in reference to sports, and we were using the analogy of you can have a million great plays, but they're going to only add up to a few seconds in the grand scheme of things, in which you must keep your focus. The majority of the time, the rest of the game is playing. But we were talking about baseball. There are only a few key moments in the game. Same with your life. These are the things, there are moments in your life that you will always remember, whether it's positive or negative. Do not let the negative moments in your life take over the rest of the time that you have, because those moments were just that, and you have more to live. So if you can muster up the courage, which I know you can, to free yourself up, to be able to embrace the difficulties, the challenges, because to some degree, though not physically, socially, mentally, spiritually, emotionally, we run into rape victims all the time. There's no one that we'll run into that can't say they've not been raped emotionally, if not physically, if not socially, if not of the respect that they were supposed to get at a given moment. But if you can still be strong enough to say, but you know what? That's okay. I'm still here, despite the fact that that happened to me, and there must be a reason. And if I can proceed with an optimistic attitude, that person, they waiting for me. You've tried to talk to these folks. They didn't realize how good of a friend that they would have had in you, but all you're doing is practicing for the real friend that you're going to meet. So don't stop practicing.
Thank you, my sweet baby.
Thank y'all so very much. I love both of y'all to pieces.
We love you, baby, and we love you to life and whole. You know, I keep hearing a lot of underline molested or raped, molested or raped, molested or raped. And we hear that a lot. And Queen, I know you're still listening, and I want to say this to the sisters and the brothers that's been molested. And these are the conversations that when we say, do you have somebody to talk to? Because for years, I wanted to blame my behavior on molestation. Every decision I made, every man I laid down with, I justified it with, this is what my brother did to me, and I can justify every man I gave my body to. I can justify all my anger. I can justify my attitude, because this is what my brother Gerald did to me. And there was no one that was willing to say, time out, until one day, my husband had to sit me down. And he said, listen, when is that going to stop being your excuse? When is that going to stop being your excuse? That happened when you were a little girl. Now you're a grown woman making these choices and decisions, and you want to put it off to what happened back then. He said, Monique, don't let that be the crutch for the rest of your life. And everybody else other than Sydney, every conversation was, oh, I understand. Oh, baby, I know that's something to deal with. And I'm not blaming them, because we've only been known, take that goddamn misery. Take it and you eat it for the rest of your life, and you walk down misery lane, and you keep on fucking up, and you keep on saying, because of what my brother did. So when I hear it in my sister's voices, please, Mama, go ahead.
Somebody told me one time, we can become addicted to our story. Mm-hmm. And it keeps us stuck, because we tell that same story over and over and over again, because we want people to sympathize with that story. Mm-hmm. But it keeps us stuck, and we can't move on from that story. Mm-hmm. So even things in my life, I have to stop telling that same story, because after a while, people get tired of hearing that your brother molested you, or that, mm-hmm. Whatever's going on in my life, happened in my life. We have to let that story go so we can move on from it. So we can start loving again.
And there's a level of balance to that, in a sense where you empathize with your partner who's yes. telling you their story, but you, in your understanding, because we as men, and Mr. Dennis and I were having a conversation the other day, have heard enough times that there comes a point, especially as it pertains to women, where your job is just to sit and listen. It is not to give any advice. It is not to solve the problem, because we as men, this is what, if we just sit around and complain, that's a problem, okay? But when you're a woman, you are allotted the right to just bitch without any thought of solving it. And when you know this, as Mr. Dennis so eloquently stated yesterday, and I agree, you know it, and then you sit those out. But then there's those times when you have to pick your moments, and you say, I think this is an opportune time to tell you that you might not want to keep going down this road, because, again, it's easy to tell someone about not being concerned about being molested, but they'll say, well, you haven't been molested. And then I can say, well, I have, because my grandfather, my father's father, touched me inappropriately. But I guess I'm a weirdo in the sense that I reflected on it, and I'm like, but he was an old man, and I was a young child. And I didn't know what was going on, but he did. So what I'm not going to be is fucked up because this old man took advantage of a little boy. Because I know who I am. I know what the moment was in retrospect, and I'm strong enough to accept what it is and move forward and not be affected by it. And the people that we encounter, when we give them the credit or the encouragement and or the understanding that so are they, we're surprised as to what happens.
Wow. This is heavy and this is deep. Let me try to maybe give another perspective in this regard. The reason to stop suffering in silence, share those deep, dark secrets that have been holding you back. A great benefit of that is this. It relieves your stress. Mm-hmm. Stress will kill you. And if you think I'm joking or you think I'm not being serious, you get over 40 years old and you start bleeding from some parts of your body that you normally don't bleed from. And I'm not saying to you that it's not a medical condition. You should go to the doctor and get it checked out. But a lot of us, what do? We sit there and we worry and we try to pray it away. Hey, a lot of times, not all times, a lot of times it's the stress that you're dealing with, okay? For the young lady that called in earlier, just a suggestion, because I don't try to tell people what to do. That's what my queen does, okay? With me. Have you ever tried